Now, normally I'd consider myself quite an optimistic person, but today I'm going to flip the script and talk about why goals might be useless and the anti-goal when thinking about either retirement or what happens next might be more powerful. Welcome to the What Happens Next channel. In the days before we all had cameras on our phones, I don't know if you do, but I remember going to my local Snappy Snaps with my throwaway camera and waiting for them to give me a set of photos. Some of them might be decent, but half of them might be of my hand or blurred or really poor. But that was the reality of taking photos back in the day. But I also remember seeing in the packet the negatives, the images that I took, but from a completely different perspective. Now, the negatives in my throwaway disposable camera or in my film wasn't particularly useful. But I do think there's some value in thinking about a different perspective on our goals when we're thinking about what happens next. Because personally, I like goals. I'm a goal setter. But often when we have conversations with clients, particularly when they're approaching retirement or thinking about what happens next, goals can be a bit more of a challenge. So today we're going to talk about anti-goals. And we're going to talk about how to set them, what to think about, and what aspects of your retirement or what happens next you might want to set anti-goals. But before I start, let's talk about this channel. We're What Happens Next, the channel dedicated to helping you make better, more nuanced decisions in the 5 years approaching retirement to plan, prepare, and get ready for retirement in a far better way so you have success in that stage of your life. Because the majority of people who watch this channel, the majority of my clients are in their 50s and 60s. They're getting ready for a crossroads in their life and they're thinking about the next 10, 20 and 30 years and what that might include. And the challenge I always faced was the traditional view of how we see our 60s, 70s and 80s has changed over generations. And I believe we need to have a bit more of a nuanced conversation about what that change might include for you and how we plan and prepare for it. Now, who am I if this is your first time to the channel? My name's Chris. I'm a chartered financial planner. I'm a director of my own practice out on the lovely Essex coast. I live in Leigh-on-Sea. Our office is in Southend, and I get to help people work out what's next in their lives, particularly from a financial perspective, but also have the real privilege of having conversations about life. And what I want to do is share some of those insights on this channel, as well as insights from a wide range of experts in both financial well-being, but also in the areas of physical well-being, how to redefine purpose and values in this chapter of our lives, intellectual well-being, community well-being and social well-being. So we have a real nuanced conversation about having a successful 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s and beyond. Now, I'd love for your help when we're having these conversations, and the easiest way you can help, if you get value from this video, is like this video and subscribe to the channel. My aim is to help you and people like you plan and prepare better for the next chapter of our lives, for the third act, if you want to call it that. And actually, the more we can share the expert views we do, plus the insights that I want to share, the more we're going to be able to do that. So, let's talk goals, or anti-goals. Because even though I am a bit of a consistent goal setter, my experience of working with clients is that setting goals isn't always the right thing to do. Because sometimes, particularly when we're going through change in our lives, we might not know what we want. we might not know how to set goals because we haven't decided what we actually want in this chapter of our lives. Now, I want to put a massive, massive shout out to Ruth Sturkey, who definitely check out the interview she did with me on What Happens Next. She shared so many really incredible insights. But Ruth has also got a brilliant, brilliant blog on the nature of the next chapter of our life. We'll put a link to that in the comments. But a few weeks ago, Ruth talked about the concept of anti-goals. Now, anti-goals are goals where we think about not what we actually want, but what don't we want. It's interesting because even though I've never thought of that concept as an anti-goal, when I think about it, I've heard so many anti-goals from my clients over the years. Some of them are money related, like I don't want to worry about money again, or I don't want my lifestyle to be unaffordable when I stop work. Some of them are deeper, more philosophical, like I don't want to feel like I've wasted my life. I don't want to spend my time doing stuff that doesn't give me joy. Or I don't want to lose my sense of purpose. Some might be related to legacy, like I don't want my children to struggle. Or I don't want my kids to buy a garage full of unicorns with their inheritance. Now, all of those are true, apart from the unicorn one. I've only heard that ever once. But actually, the point remains, when we're thinking about goal setting, if we're struggling with that concept, try thinking about anti-goals. I'd suggest you start with 3 questions. In the next year, if you're retiring or changing your life to what happens next, what don't you want to happen? Now zoom out. In the next 3 years, what don't you want to happen? And in the next 5 years, what don't you want to happen? If goals are a challenge, try anti-goals and make sure that you're in a position where even if you don't know what you want, you definitely know what you don't want. Hopefully that tip is useful, but I'm really curious. What tips would you share for a successful retirement? And what concepts that aren't regularly used would you share for somebody preparing for what happens next in their life? I'd love to know. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd like to recommend 2 other videos on the What Happens Next channel if you've liked this video that you could definitely watch. Number 1 is the interview that I mentioned earlier on with Ruth Sturkey. And number 2 is a video that I made about how to avoid falling off the retirement cliff. Hopefully you'll enjoy them. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you next time on What Happens Next.